What's up, everybody? I just read another book by Richie Tankersley Cusack. This is Overdue. And Overdue is a perfect name for this book because I should have read this a long time ago. I've read a few books by this lady, April Fool's, Someone at the Door, and Trick or Treat. And April Fool's I've actually done a review for on Instagram. So if you guys want to go follow me, that'd be great. If not, I'll do a review on here one day. Someone at the Door. I've read probably when I was an adult. I was out of school. Probably in 2012. I want to say. I'm old. I don't do the math. Um, Trick or Treat. I read longer than that. So, but anyway, we're not here to talk about those. We're here to talk about Overdue. Overdue is amazing. It's probably my second favorite book of the year. The story starts off with this girl named Kathleen. She is talking to her friend named Robin, and Robin was in an accident when he was really little, and it left him where he couldn't talk, so he's a mute. And Robin is a shy, doesn't like to be around people kind of guy, and Kathleen's somewhat of the same way, but a little bit more like where she likes people, I guess. She has her ways in this book where it's like, oh, you shouldn't have said that, But it's funny. I mean, there's scenes in this book that actually made me laugh. Not from her, but I'll get there. Anyway, Kathleen is talking to Robin about her mom and dad. They're going through this divorce. Her mom is upset that she didn't go stay with her, and the dad is just this workaholic that's never really home. Anyway, this is mostly just kind of, normal, filling in the book a little bit. We quickly are introduced to Mrs. Finch, which is the librarian leader lady, the boss, And we quickly learn that she's going somewhere for work, and she wants Kathleen to run this library while she's gone. Kathleen, of course, doesn't want to do this because it's spring break. She wants to be out with her friends, but she really doesn't have that many friends. She's got one girl named Della that shows up a little later in the book, and she's funny too, especially her and this other kid's exchange. But yeah, they're talking about the divorce and all this stuff, and Miss Finch is going on this retreat thing or some kind of work thing. Kathleen eventually says, "Yeah, I'll run the library while you're gone." The good stuff doesn't start happening until I say the good stuff. All of this book is good, but the main plot doesn't really happen until one night she's staying over. She's staying late, and these books are dropped in this book drop-off thing. And all of the books have to do with like murder, executions, and different things like that. And in fact, one of the books has like pictures that were cut out. And this freaks Kathleen out so much that she starts screaming. And here we meet this kid named Alexander who overheard her screaming. And Alexander's just a normal guy. He goes to a college, I think, down the road. And we quickly, get Kathleen and Alexander. Alexander kind of likes her, and we quickly learn that. Yeah, so that's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Kathleen ends up going home, and she runs into these mean girls, and I don't remember the mean girls' names. I think it's like Madison or something like that. And Madison is so mean that she has some books that she borrowed from this library, and she throws them at Kathleen and throws them in a puddle of water, which is the scariest thing in this book because, Jesus, books don't go with water. If you're watching this and you didn't know that, I'm glad I can help. But yeah, the mean girl, she does a little bit of bullying and leaves. And that night she gets home and there's a fire at her house. She wakes up in the middle of the night. She climbs out of a window, gets out of there safe and sound. But as she's getting out, she notices there's a book of Dante's Inferno sitting on a coffee table, I think, or on the floor. Anyway, she gets out of there, and the house is like burned. And the dad, pops up, a bunch of police officers. The dad says that he has to go out of town also to do some work-related stuff. So she has to stay with some kid that she grew up with and his mom. And the kid that she grew up with is probably my favorite character in this book because he's hilarious. He's basically Chandler Bing. I'll give you a quick some stuff that she said. like towards the end of the book, there's like this traumatic thing that happens, and she's like freaking out, screaming, this and that, crying, and he tells her to blow her nose, and it's so dry and just delivered at such a dry humor kind of way, and it made me chuckle. I loved it. He also he also ends up getting hurt. I'm not going to say what happens, and she comes in to check on him, and he says something like he says something along the lines like, "I'm not in heaven because you're here," and it's really great. He's kind of mean, but it's very funny, and I don't know how to explain it. Like her, Kathleen and Bran, this kid's named Bran. I don't even think I mentioned that, but Kathleen and Bran were like just the perfect like book couple. Like I honestly wanted to see them get married. Like I wanted a scene with them getting married and living on a farm. I don't know. Maybe I'm sensitive. I don't know, but this book was great. Just with characters and stuff. We're introduced to, we meet Della, we meet Bran, the sarcastic kid, we got Alexander, and we got Mrs. Finch, and we got Mrs. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Valini or something. She's Bran's mom, and she's really sweet. She she lets her stay at their house and stuff like that while the house is getting fixed and the dad's gone. But different things start happening along the lines of an accident will happen and a book will be left behind. And there's another scene where a truck turns loose and accidentally runs over two characters in this book. And there's a book, I don't know the name of the book, I don't even know what the book's about. In fact, I've never read Dante's Inferno, but Dante's Inferno apparently has something to do with like going through hell. And this book here has something to do with stopping a truck. Like there's a story in the book that this girl stops a truck with her bare hands or something. But my favorite thing is there's a thing with the Phantom of the Opera on here, and that's easily my favorite like book left behind accident thing. And yeah, that's really all I'm gonna say because I don't want to give too much away for this book. This book's amazing. I highly recommend it. Like, if you haven't read this, do it. It's like, pick it up now. I don't think this is a hard book to find. I haven't looked. I'm recommending it to everybody that I know, especially if you're a book lover. This takes 90%. This book takes place like 90% of the time in a library. Sorry. And it's great. I did see on Goodreads where somebody said who the person was doing all this was very predictable. I call BS. I've read a million books like this. I didn't guess who it was. This was a buddy read, and the buddy I read this with, she guessed that it was somebody else as a joke, and I was like, maybe. And yeah, I'm not gonna say. It's pretty much everybody in this book could have been the person doing it, and I don't think that's predictable. I think that's very good writing. If I had to complain about anything, and it's a nitpick, towards the end we find out like who the person is doing this, of course, but we don't really find out why the books are being left behind, or even how the books are like being brought back, because in the story it's made to make Kathleen look crazy because the book would be left behind and then all of a sudden the book is gone. Like, how did this person get the book back? It's not really known. And the only other thing is this book does end on a happier note, and it was really cute, but there was like straight up murders in this book, and they kind of swept it under the rug. But with that being said, I still think this is a perfect book. I wouldn't say perfect. Still a 5 out of 5 star book. I don't think it's perfect. I know that sounds kind of weird that I'm giving it a 5 out of 5, but I don't think that the nitpicks that I have is enough to bring this book down. I honestly, when I was reading this book, I honestly wanted to keep going. Like, I felt like I could just read this book forever. I honestly feel like if I wanted to, a couple months from now, I could pick this book back up and just read it. I wish there was like a part 2 or something. The ending was really sweet. There's really scary stuff in here, especially if you don't like being alone and different things like that. So, yeah, Overdue, 5 out of 5 stars from you guys. Easily my second favorite book of the year. No contest. Yeah, I love this. I highly recommend it if you guys haven't read it. If you have read it, please let me know what you thought in the comments below. I saw on Goodreads where some people gave it like a 3 out of 5. I think it deserves way more than that. So yeah, please just let me know what you guys thought down below in the comments. And until next time, See you next time. Bye.